What's going on, everyone? My name is Brosha. Welcome back to a brand new video. So ever since Breath of the Wild 2's last trailer came out, we got a lot of interesting things, one being enemies. In that trailer, we saw a few new enemies and changes to enemies that were in Breath of the Wild. As big of a world as Breath of the Wild's Hyrule is, I thought that we could have seen a lot more enemies than we got in Breath of the Wild. Most of the enemies that we did get were very similar. They had elemental variants and also were more powerful versions of the basic enemies. In the recent Breath of the Wild trailer, we saw this stone talus with a Bokoblin camp sitting on top of it. Why it's on top of it, I have no idea, but it makes me think that we could see similar things with the overworld bosses and enemies in Breath of the Wild too. But before we continue, if you guys could like and subscribe, it would be appreciated. If we see more enemies like this, I think that this game will be much more difficult than Breath of the Wild, and this is a really good way to do it. Link has already defeated Calamity Ganon and became the hero, and I think that these more powerful enemies, and Link losing the Master Sword also at the beginning of the game, gives Nintendo an excuse to start Link off not as powerful as he was before. But he'll eventually get it back further down the line in the game, and so on and so forth. But back to the enemies. I've been playing a lot of Age of Calamity's DLC Pack 2 since it came out about a week ago, and I've been enjoying it a lot. I mean, you guys should check it out. I've been enjoying the stages and everything, the new characters, all amazing. But in that DLC, I noticed a few enemies that I think we may see in Breath of the Wild too. In Age of Calamity, there are Bomb Moblins and Octo Moblins. I'm not sure if they were in the base game of Age of Calamity, but I just noticed them being much more common in this DLC pack. But these enemies, I see this as being a way that they're taken to the next level on top of the Moblins that we already see in this trailer that have shorter horns in Breath of the Wild 2. Those two Moblin variations remind me of the Stone Talus with the Moblin camp on it, and I think that we could see other overworld bosses do something similar. Like maybe, I think since a Lynel is so much like a horse, we'll probably see something riding it in Breath of the Wild 2. And what else? A Hinox, I'm not sure what we'll see, but I feel like a Hinox may be more armored, and for the Molduga, I really have no idea. But even with the dead variants of like the Hinox, I still think we could see some of these changes. But Age of Calamity expanded on the enemies and overworld bosses that we had because they had multiple elemental variants, which is another way I could see them taking this game and improving and making the enemies stronger. But I also think Age of Calamity really gave us a blueprint of what we may see in Breath of the Wild 2, since it added more to what was already established in Breath of the Wild. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that we'll get some of these new versions of enemies? I really think so based on what we've seen so far, and I really want to know what the other new versions of the overworld bosses would look like, because overworld bosses in Breath of the Wild, they were my favorite. I love how you just encounter them just out of nowhere, and they're scattered. I think they're perfectly scattered across the world. There's a perfect amount of them, but this time I just want, I guess, more variation. But I just want to know what they look like in this game. What are their upgrades? What are they going to be upgraded with, since we know the Talus already has the Bokoblin camp on it, which is going to be interesting. I wonder what that's going to play like. But I'd be willing to bet that the other overworld bosses have new forms also. But another thing I forgot to talk about is in Age of Calamity, the overworld bosses and enemies also have Malice forms too, which makes them more aggressive and more powerful, which that's another way they could take it. Especially since we see so much Malice coming from Hyrule Castle. I think that we could see these Malice enemies too. They also, I like their design also. The Malice enemies look pretty cool, but I've held up enough for your time. Thank you guys for watching the video, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.